What's up, guys? My name is Craig Yeats. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee with Craig. We are here at the Dennis Goldberg House of Hope, an amazing South African who was inspired to empower so many youthful people in South Africa. And as you can see, we are in his art gallery, which was designed to create a beautiful space to enrich people's lives that came into this beautiful working space. Today's episode of Coffee with Craig, we have a returning guest, one of your favorite, Rasta, and we are going to speak about the journey that the two of us are on, inspiring the youth. But before we even get there, quickly go and like this video, because when you hit that like button, YouTube will go and show this to more people so we can inspire and teach them as much as possible. And that's what we're in this for. I want to make sure Coffee with Craig is an inspiration and educational show for you to help empower you to go after your dreams as much as possible. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Enjoy the amazing guests that I share with you. Today we've got Rasta. So I hope you enjoyed this one. Rasta, the last time that you were on Coffee with Craig, we were on Newlands Rugby Field and we were talking about making crucial decisions. Now, you've made a new decision in your life. You want to embark down a different road, and you told me that you want to now go down the road of becoming a speaker or motivating people. Where does that all stem from? Where does it come from?
So firstly, it comes from Andre, who's a mentor of mine that inspired me to start a project with him, and obviously team up with yourself, Craig, and a couple of motivational people so that we can obviously give the youth some of our knowledge and inspire them to become successful people. And it goes back to enriching life. So I really like the concept because we actually inspiring grade 11s and 12s to make better decisions in life.
Did you ever have someone when you were in grade 11, grade 12 that inspired you?
Yeah, obviously growing up, I went to GPR school for boys,
Sorry?
So we obviously have a great school, but a lot of Springboks and stuff. But I always had a lot of mentors coming in my later stages of my high school career, which was great to obviously inspire us in terms of our mental.
Was there anyone in particular that just kind of stood out for you?
Yeah, I remember Frith van der Merwe, which was a runner. She was a famous South African runner, and she shared something very emotional and special that has stuck with me in terms of goals and achieving what you want in life. And she had achieved a significant amount in her life. But we've had great mentors like Jake White as well. Obviously, he was at JP before I was there, and we've had quite a lot of professors come speak to us. But Frith van der Merwe and Jake
So the two of them stood out. And what do you think it was that inspired you or helped you become a referee or a successful referee? I mean, do you get such a thing though?
Yeah, Craig, obviously you take concepts from different people and they obviously give you a bit of knowledge or things they did right, things they didn't do wrong, obviously to give you a toolkit in your life to be better in what you do. So life's all about getting these toolkits and developing triggers so that when you're in those situations, you make better decisions. Obviously, they're not all perfect, but you learn better, faster by having mentors.
Okay, so you've had some mentors in your life, and you try to mentor people. What do you want to do for these kids? How do you want to help them? Do you want to inspire them? Do you want to teach them something? Do you want to help show them what's possible? What's your main aim?
So, Craig, for me, the main objective with running these projects every fortnight is for them to walk away with something. It's not something where they come for a meal and just facilitate the conversations. We hope that we can inspire kids and they take lifelong lessons and they can inspire other kids, and hopefully we develop more mentors so we have a better society.
Okay, so a lot of schools like JP, you would do job shadowing in maybe grade 11, grade 12 as it is. A lot of these kids maybe don't have those opportunities from the schools that they go to. I mean, there's some orphans here as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the main objective of this project, because they don't have those opportunities. So the more we provide opportunities for people to be successful, the more it becomes a habit, and a habit becomes contagious. So they're going to share that with their friends, and hopefully it will grow from 20 students to 40 to 100 students. Is it something
you want to grow?
Yeah, absolutely. The main objective is to inculcate all the students, whatever color they are and whatever, and we want to grow it to an extent that the program provided that enriching life that we took from a concept from your company. We enrich their lives, which is actually something phenomenal.
I feel like so many people become a product of the environment. And I feel like as generations go on, people learn from their parents and they duplicate what their parents did. and they duplicate the same problems they learn from their mom and their dad. They just go through and they do the same thing. And I think the biggest thing for me with this project is you're taking people that come from maybe disadvantaged backgrounds, who don't have a mentor who's a parent, and you're giving them a mentor to help guide them through to live a better life. Because I mean, there's some amazing talented people here, and it would be terrible that their talents and their potential just disappear and they're not used to add value to South Africa.
Yeah, and I think you've put the nail in the coffin there, Craig. What's great about this project, if you've actually analysed the mechanics of the project, is the fact that instead of them spending their Friday night going and partying, Friday afternoon partying, running around, they actually lust the education. The fact that they're here every single Friday and we're seeing the exact same students, excuse the noise, with the same enthusiasm, is that they're actually getting value from this. So we actually, it's a win-win situation for them and a win-win situation for us, because we're actually starting to learn what they want in life and what they want to achieve in life. At the same time, they're feeding this information to their families and stuff. So what I really liked, I bumped into a friend earlier this afternoon that runs Sisterhood Project, which is obviously based in Hart Bay. And it's a cousin of hers, and she shares the stories and shares the video clips that were put on the WhatsApp group. So it's actually very nice. They make notes, they got notebooks, they got something to reflect on. And the fact that they're all enthusiastic about doing job shadowing, it means that we actually having more productive time rather than wastage of time, you know. So we got limited hours in the day, so whether we're in school or not, but we're actually using more productive time, because 12 hours or 24 hours is a long time, Craig.
But I mean, I don't know about you, when I was 16, 17 on a Friday afternoon, I would be on the cricket field and the rugby field, the hockey field, playing with my mates, something with a ball, passing a ball, hitting a ball, whatever the case is. I don't know if you kept busy with all of that when you were that age, but for these kids on a Friday to also want to educate themselves, I think is amazing.
Yeah, I think it's great, Craig. If you look at these individuals that have come, they come in different shapes and sizes, and if you look at the thesis of our topics, it's based around giving them that education where they can actually go train and learn about sport, they can learn about accounting, be a lawyer or whatever. So we're actually equipping them to actually enrich their own lives in a way.
Let me just stop you for a second. Is Hart Bay always so noisy?
Yeah, absolutely. Hart Bay is always noisy wherever you go.
Okay, so you're saying, you're trying to enrich these kids' lives. What about sport? I mean, I'm a strong believer that sport takes people out of bad situations.
Yes, Craig. So my message when I delivered a speech, it was around sports, health, and obviously education and mental health. So we are doing some job shadowing events with them where some of them want to get involved in the sports arena, some of them want to get into different professions. But what's great about it is the fact that we address the fact that they need to be healthy and they're going to exercise and try different things. A lot of them are not all sporty. We're all different in different shapes and sizes and forms. Listen, I was very sporty in school, but what's great about it is a couple of them want to be sports coaches, sports teachers. So slowly we are winning the small little steps.
That's something that I find a lot of the time. I've always said in our business, when we have mentors, the mentors actually gain so much more than the mentee when they're teaching someone else. And I feel like when you're standing up teaching kids how to live life, you can't tell them what to do if you're not doing it.
Absolutely.
So it almost reinforces you need to live a better life to almost enrich yourself, I guess, if you're going out and helping other people. I mean, there's so many. There was an amazing saying from Gandhi. There was a mom that took a kid to Gandhi who all the kid did the whole time was eat sugar non-stop. And they waited in this queue and they got to speak to Gandhi, and the mom said, "Please tell my son to stop eating sugar. Tell my son to stop eating sugar." And he said, "No, I'm not going to do it. Come back in a month's time." And they came back a month later and they got to the front of the queue, and she spoke to Gandhi and said, "Please tell my son to stop eating sugar." And he said, "Stop eating sugar," and he stopped. And she got so irritated. She said, why did I have to come back a month later? And he turned around and said, "Well, I couldn't tell your son to stop eating sugar because I was busy eating sugar at that time." So I mean, that concept for me is amazing. So I often find when I have to help someone else, I grow so much myself because I have to learn what I'm teaching. I don't know if you found that.
Yeah, Craig, what I've learned in life is that the teacher is only as good as the student. I've always grown up with that concept because My parents have always said you got to practice what you preach. And I love your analogy about Mahatma Gandhi and the sugar story, but I've always found it's a reflection on your own actions, because you become a better mentor and your actions change. It's all about habits. Everything becomes habitual. You can't preach something if you don't have good habits. It can't be habitual if you don't practice it.
Okay, so what are you doing to become a better speaker, to become a better mentor, to help enrich people's lives more?
Excellent question, Craig. So I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm actually researching more about myself the more I talk through the students. So I engage them. So I've got a different personality, which actually makes me actually learn more about myself by questioning. Because I learn from different ideas the whole time. And I rebuild myself. And I get more armor to be a better speaker every single time, because they're actually enriching me with different lifestyles they're learning today. Remember, I was in the era I was born in 1986, Craig. You remember that, right? That was a golden era, but we were back then in standards. We didn't have grades back then. We had high grade, lower grade, and standard grade, and whatever. We didn't have all these grades, and our rankings were A, B, C, D, E, F. But now you rank by numbers. So what's significant about today is that the students are actually formulating how we see society differently. So the norm and the paradigm of the norm has changed, Craig, which is ultimately shaping us in terms of how we treat society today. I mean, we can take COVID as an example. I mean, Craig, the whole world shifted into a different sphere, and we had to adjust. It's all about adjustments. So it's actually fantastic engaging with students like this, because they're actually teaching us more about ourselves, and we put more armor to be more equipped for what's coming tomorrow.
So I mean, say there's a kid that's not here in this lecture on a Friday, they're watching this at home. I mean, if you could give them, let's say, 2 main things that you could teach them, what would they be?
If there was a kid that wasn't here and they were watching this lecture on a weekend or a Friday, or they're watching it right now, 2 main things I'd give them is that, firstly, look after yourself, have good values, good morals, good support systems and structures.
What does that mean?
Well, that's the first point, but I'll come back to your question. And the second point is that always have an end in mind, because at the end of the day, you work towards something and you'll push yourself beyond normal boundaries to get to the end in mind.
So have a goal.
Have a goal, in other words. To go back to your first question.
Tell me about the values.
About values and stuff, is practice what you preach.
Okay, but
listen to your parents.
Say I'm growing up in a bad environment. No one's ever told me what's good or bad, what's right or wrong. I'm just a product of my environment. So you speak about morals and values. How do I know what's a good moral? What's a good value?
So we're influenced by a lot of things. We know what's right and wrong because we watch TV. We have friends in our society and community. And we're only as good as our surroundings. But you choose and have decisions based on what you think is going to make you successful. You can't wish to win the lotto if you don't pay the lotto. That's what I'm trying to say. But your surroundings around you, Craig, ultimately, you decide whether they're going to shape who you ultimately become. You either contribute to the cause or you change the cause. Okay. And that's something I've always grown up with in my value system. I could have continued the cycle, but I broke the cycle because I wanted to achieve something different. And that comes with education, Craig. So it's good that the kids are watching this because they can learn. The more they get educated and the more they get into sport, like you mentioned earlier, Craig, it actually changes a hell of a lot of things in terms of psyche and direction.
I want to know what your goal is from a speaking perspective. Because you said number 2, one is values, second one's goals. Tell me a goal. Something that's going to be on camera that I can come back to you in a year's time, 5 years' time and say, this was your goal, have you hit it?
Okay, so Craig, I'm a person of measurables. You know, when I say end in mind, I always put targets and a timeline.
So let's make it real here.
I'll tell you what my goal is in terms of motivational speaking. If I get your question right, Craig, okay, in terms of motivational speaking, my goal is to produce 5 gems from this motivational exercise that we're going to actually put in university and look after them and mentor them for the rest of their lives. 5 gems or 10 gems that we've discussed when we're doing motivational speaking that will then become mentors like us.
Okay.
And pass on our legacy in terms of enriching lives. On the 25th of March, in 5 years' time,
27.
can we, 100%, I'm very impressed by your maths. But can we put a measurable on the 25th of March 2027?
Perfect.
And if we have achieved our goal, Craig, in terms of getting them to mentor or get into tertiary education or whatever and give back to their societies and change the societies and enrich them, then we've actually achieved our goals, Craig. And it's not about us, it's about their goals too, Craig.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
So I think what I want to hear, maybe you can write in the comment section below, is what is one of your goals that you want to reach in the next 5 years? On the 27th of March, 2027.
25th of March.
25th of March, 2027. What is something that you want to achieve? We want to hear it. Rustin wants to hear it. Craig wants to hear it. I want to find out what is one of your goals you want to achieve in the next 5 years. Write it in the comment section below.
And on top of it, just put the hashtag Enriching Lives, because that's what this whole concept about. It's about enriching lives.
And fulfilling dreams.
Yeah, and inspiring future young stars.